Start.
Yeah, let's wait like a few minutes to other people to join. I think
Sure.
Ankur will be joining.
Mhm.
All right, I think we can start some.
All right. I'm gonna share my screen. Let me know when you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see your screen. So just wanted to mention something. But this we're gonna present this more like a discussion rather than a presentation. So if anybody has any question, feel free to either raise your hand or just ask the question when Solomon is talking about it. We can stop and answer any question that you may have.
Good. So what I prepared, well, I used the technical memos and the PRD documents on how to design a stormwater management, how to define stormwater management requirement based on the project LOD. So the first thing we need to determine the requirements for stormwater management for any project is defining the work area. Here I have an example. One I just chose one project. Here is so-called LOD, limit of disturbance. That means we are doing something here. Especially here, we are defining the stormwater management practice bioswale. So we are going to define the limit of disturbance. And once we define the limit of disturbance at each work area, you see here is also we have a LOD. Once we are done with defining the LOD, that means defining where we are doing the work, the proposed work, we're gonna find out at which location that the concentrated flow or sheet flow leaves the work area. So for this LOD, we defined this pipe to be the outfall of the entire drainage area to the LOD, because we need to cover the each LOD within a drainage area. So for this, for example, for this LOD, the drainage area, what you see in green here, is enclosing it. So each LOD needs to be covered by drainage area. So I have some other POIs and LODs also. You see here, these are all LOD where we are doing some work here, or LODs, and those LODs are enclosed by drainage areas. And to those drainage areas, of course, we're gonna have a point where concentrated flow leaves the site. Here we have POIs, and I think we have LOI also, line of investigation, the so-called line of investigation. That means it, it is the place where the flow leaves the site as sheet flow, not concentrated flow, but sheet flow. So for that purpose, we are defining LOI. I thought we have LOI here, but
Yeah, I think it's on
it's
the
go.
previous sheet. Yeah.
It was.
So just add a few things here. This is a typical SHA job. So SHA usually, by definition, their POI is the point where the runoff leaves their right of way. That doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be right at that location where the flow leaves there. You can, if there's an outfall nearby, you can actually choose that point as your POI instead of the right of way. So for example, here in POI 1, you can see there's an outfall just south of that, southeast. So we could have just located that POI at the end of that pipe, which would have been fine. But we chose it to show it at the right of way line, which I think is also fine. The other thing is it's not always concentrated flow. There are a number of times the flow just leaves the site without any concentrated flow, so it just sheet flows. So in those cases, we just treat the entire area where the sheet flows occur as our line of investigation. So that helps us keep the drainage area smaller so that we can run our analysis. Sometimes it's not necessary to like delineate the drainage area up to the point where the flow concentrates. It just creates a lot of work. So we normally, if it's just a sheet flow and we're doing something small, for example, here it's just a sidewalk addition. So we can actually like study that area based on how it leaves our site, which is like a sheet flow from and this I think this is the west side of the road. So that's how we delineate our study points. And as Solomon mentioned, all the LOD they should be within drainage area of at least one POI. So if we cannot just leave the LOD out of our study point and not consider in our stormwater management computations, all LOD should be covered by one POI.
Yeah. So this is an example of LOI. That means the flow leaves this area as a sheet flow. So this here we have LOI delineated where the flow leaves the site, not as concentrated, but as a sheet flow. And then beside it, this is another drainage area where we have concentrated flow. That means there is a pipe here. So the pipe.
There's a curb inlet, and
Yes.
all the runoff from our site eventually leaves the site, or in our case, the LOD, via like that inlet intercepts the flow from our side. So we consider that as our one of the POI.
Yep. So once we define the LOD and the associated drainage area to that LOD, we're gonna go ahead and determine the project requirement. For that, we're gonna use the so-called stormwater management study area. In most cases, it is the intersection of the limit of disturbance and the drainage area. So in this example, here, the stormwater management study area will be for this drainage area, for this big drainage area, this LOD, and I think there is another one here, you see? The portion of this LOD. See, this LOD is divided into two. So for this POI, the stormwater management study area will be the sum of this LOD and this LOD. So now we have the stormwater management study area. And based on that, we're gonna find out how much of impervious area in existing condition, how much impervious area we have in existing condition. So once we find out that impervious area, we're gonna go ahead and determine the so-called classification of the project, which means here, if the existing condition impervious area, that means the impervious area divided by the stormwater management study area is greater than 40%, then that area will be classified as redevelopment. I'm gonna tell you what does it mean. And if the existing condition, again, impervious area divided by stormwater management study area is less than or equal to 40%, then the reconstructed or the area will be classified as a new development. So this
So
is, yes.
I want to add a few things here.
Mhm.
So your impervious area percentage, it's for each POI, it's not for the entire project.
Yeah.
So what I mean to say is for a single project, there might be POIs which are classified as redevelopment, where there could be other POIs that can be classified as new development. So depending on which classification your POI falls into, you'll have different stormwater management requirements, which Solomon will go through in our next slide.
Yep. So I already talked about the area used for calculating percent impervious is referred to as stormwater management study area, which I showed you here is the intersection of the LOD and the drainage area to the POI or LOI. And here I have a notes that we can, pervious areas that are not available for development, including land protected by forest preservation, conservation easement or other mechanism buffer underground utility areas and areas used for stormwater management may be excluded from stormwater management study area, which will help us because if we have larger stormwater management study area, then this ratio will be always less than 40%. Less than 40% means our project is classified as new development. That means more stormwater management requirement than redevelopment. So we need to provide more treatment. So the less the stormwater management study area, the better for us because it's gonna be, the classification will be at greater than 40%, which means redevelopment and less treatment. I mean, less stormwater management requirements. That's why this, exclusion. And then here I have, before I go to the next, the percent impervious area used to determine the ESD requirement is based on LOD within the drainage area. And the percent used to determine the provided ESD and the storage volume requirement is based on the drainage area to the BMP. That means for the requirements of this POI, for stormwater management requirement of this POI, we're gonna determine using this LOD. And of course, the impervious area within it, not only the existing, but the proposed impervious area also here is gonna play, and that is gonna tell us how much of water quality volume we're gonna provide. And I'm gonna show you how to do that. And the other thing is, and the design, when we design the ESD facility, it's not based on LOD, but it is based on the drainage area, based on the drainage area to it. For example, this bioswale has a drainage area of, you see this is a drainage area to that bioswale. That means this bioswale is gonna be designed for all impervious area and pervious area going to it. From
So
that,
I
yes.
just want to chime in, Solomon, on this one. So if you look at this, this is the drainage area to POI 1. So this larger drainage area, if you just look at the LOD that's on the screen right now, it doesn't have any impervious area in it. So by itself, I don't think our stormwater management would have been very too much for this LOD. But if you look on to the right-hand side, there is LOD with the proposed impervious area, the sidewalk, driveways, curb and gutter. So any stormwater requirement for this POI would be the result of that impervious area.
Yes. Yes. So for the requirement, we're gonna use the LODs, all impervious area within the LODs. And for the design of the practice, we're gonna use the drainage area to the practice. It may be larger, it may be more than what we require, but unless we, for example, here, this is a good example because we delineated the drainage area to this facility as this because we designed a diversion ditch to exclude extra drainage area coming to it and overwhelm our bioswale. We just designed a diversion ditch to avoid other drainage area coming to it or offsite area coming to it. So to minimize the drainage area. If we don't do this, then we have to design, if we don't have this diversion ditch, then we have to design this bioswale for you see, up to here. That would be.
So all the microscale practices, I believe all, I'm not 100% sure, but I think all microscale practices do have limitation on drainage areas.
Yeah, except
for example,
maybe
maybe
submerged gravel wetland,
yeah,
maybe.
maybe that one. But I think even that one has a minimum drainage area limitation,
Yes,
though.
yes,
Like I think
minimum.
for a submerged gravel wetland, you have to have at least 1 acre.
Yep.
But whereas for a bioswale, the maximum you can drain to it is 1 acre. For a bioretention, it's 20,000 square feet.
Yep.
So based on what kind of facility you pick, you'll have to be very careful, like how much area you're going to drain. For example, in this case, if you just take out that diversion ditch, we were just draining too much to this facility, which was not going to work out. So to address that, we decided to create a berm between the that would be the west side so that the water coming from the west side is going to be intercepted by that ditch and then conveyed away from the bioswale that we proposed.
Yeah. So, so the point here is, even though we calculate the project requirement based on the LOD to the POI, but when we design the ESD practice, it has to be based on the drainage area to the proposed practice. So let's say we have impervious area IRT, requirement, impervious area treatment requirement of half an acre for this POI, but the drainage area contains more than half acre, then we have to design it for that more than 1 acre, unless we divert the excess runoff or excess impervious area coming to it.
Yeah, let's go through how the requirements are calculated before we go.
All right, good. So here is calculating impervious area requiring treatment for each POI. So these are the terms we're gonna use. AI means impervious area. Existing impervious area, AI, the pre-development impervious area within LOD. I propose the same thing, post-development within LOD. Delta means proposed impervious area minus existing impervious area. So it can be negative or positive. If we are increasing impervious area, then this number is going to be positive. If we are decreasing, if we are removing more impervious area, then this is going to be negative. So to calculate the IART, or the so-called impervious area requiring treatment, that's going to be IART from redevelopment plus IART from new development. So as we said, in existing condition, for if in existing condition percent impervious area is greater than 40%, which means redevelopment, then the IART redevelopment from redevelopment will be 50% of existing AI. 50% of this, plus if we are increasing 100% of that increase, which result in the IART this plus this 50% of existing 50%, because that's what I was saying, the requirement will be less if we are under a redevelopment category. That means the existing impervious area is greater than 40%. That's why I was saying this 50% of these plus any increase, 100% of any increase. That's what it is here. But for a condition where we are less than, for the existing impervious area is less than or equal to 40%, which means a new development category, then there is no redevelopment. The entire IART will be new because we are new development. So which means that's going to be 100% of existing plus 100% of any increase we have in that project. So which means 100% of a proposed impervious area. Is that clear? Any questions here? So that's what I was saying. The less stormwater management steady area, the best for us, because the quotient, the quotient, that means the existing impervious area divided by the stormwater management study area will be less than greater than 40%, which means less treatment, 50 and 100 AI. But for new development, 100% and 100%. This is more treatment. Okay. And then this is about 3.3A waiver. Most of the time, if we are doing just, if the LOD is just for the trench work, for example, that means we are doing, pipe work or and we put everything back to where it was, how it was, then we can exclude that impervious area from stormwater management requirement. We're gonna ask for so-called 3.3A waiver because it is gonna be maintenance. Utility work is considered as maintenance, and if we disturb some concrete or asphalt to change or to install new pipe and put back the asphalt or the concrete, then as it is, and then we can exclude that area from stormwater management requirement, and we can ask for the quality waiver, 3.3A waiver. And
So
here,
until
yes,
recently, sorry to interrupt.
it's okay.
So until recently, like this maintenance guideline on the maintenance, like what qualifies as a maintenance and what does not, like there was it was not clearly defined. So we had a lot of question, and we recently heard, when working on, I think, MD 736,
Yeah.
there were, at least we were provided some new guidelines by HSD, clearly defining what we can consider as a maintenance versus your disturbance. So I think both PRD and HSD, they're going to come up with a guideline on that soon, maybe in one of the technical memos. So if you are working on a project, for example, that proposes to remove the existing sidewalk and to rebuild at the same location, by definition, I think that qualifies as a maintenance. On top of that, in this new guideline, what we were told is, like, if you are removing a curb and gutter and you're proposing a new curb and gutter in the same location, or you are just removing curb and gutter, putting a new sidewalk there, that also qualifies as a maintenance now. If it is on the shoulder, you're removing the shoulder, and I think putting curb and gutter there, that also qualifies as a maintenance. So there will be some technical memo coming out soon. So when you are working on that kind of project that involves like removal of any existing surface, we all need to look at that guidance, and then differentiate between what is maintenance and what is new disturbance, because your stormwater management requirement will vary based on, like, if you qualify something as a maintenance, then you don't need to provide stormwater management for that portion. But in the same project, like, there might be new impervious, or there might be existing impervious which you are removing and then doing something else which qualifies as a disturbance. So you need to take into account of all that when you're working and trying to calculate what's the requirement based on the disturbance.
Okay. So now we are done with calculating the IART, the impervious area requiring treatment. So how do we calculate the required ESD volume? So the required ESD volume should be calculated for an area equal to the IART using the RV. I'm gonna explain this maybe in the next session when we do some examples of 0.95, which means 100% imperviousness. So for redevelopment, for a project which is classified as a redevelopment, the PE, the rainfall depth, will be 1 inch. So the volume will be calculated based on the 0.95 and the IART area and 1 inch. But if our project is classified as a new development, it depends on which soil we are. So for D soil, we're gonna use PE of 2, and for C soil 2.2 and 2.6 for A and B soil. And we have a spreadsheet. I mean, MD or PRD have a spreadsheet. They have a spreadsheet, and they are working in this manner. So when they calculate the required volume, ESDV volume, they assume the IART as a drainage area, which means 100% imperviousness, and then this RV will be 0.95, and based on that, they calculate the required impervious. I mean, the required volume to be treated by the practice. So once we have these, when we design and when we provide this required ESDV, we are not going to use this, but we are going to use the drainage area. This drainage area and its own percent imperviousness, and we're going to calculate the provided volume based on this drainage area, not based on this. This is just for requirement. IART will be taken as a drainage area, 100% impervious area, and then we're gonna use this. So for our provided, it may not be 2 inch, it may be 2.2, it may be 1.8 based on the soil, because we may not have the same soil in one drainage area. We may have different soil types, and the PE will be different based on the drainage area. And here I have the water quality bank. Maybe if we have water quality bank, if the project area has a water quality bank, then they cannot provide, I mean, that site cannot provide any ESD practice, then they can use for water quality, they can use a debit from their bank if they have some available, and then that will provide the 1 inch, because 1 inch is related to water quality volume, not ESD, but water quality volume, 1 inch, and the remaining has to be addressed differently if they use water quality bank. So the water quality bank may be used to satisfy the water quality requirement for both redevelopment and new development. That is the total IART, but it is only for 1 inch. Okay. Here is this what I was trying to say also. However, the treatment provided by the bank may not be used to meet the ESDV requirement for new development. That means ESDV2 POI requirement, which means if we are classified as a new development, then using the bank will not satisfy everything what we are supposed to provide. Even for redevelopment, sometimes we have, it's not pure redevelopment sometimes, because it can be classified as pure development, I mean redevelopment, but we may have some net increase in impervious area. So for that net increase in impervious area, we have to provide more volume. Okay. This is I took from PRD guideline. If the project, it says, if the project has excess water quality volume from, if it is ESD facility, or if we have to use the so-called this chapter 3, which are not micro scale practices, with a total drainage area less than 3 acres, which means for this, for the chapter 3, practice. I mean, specifically they listed the bioretention, and if its drainage area is less than 3 acres, it will be credited to MDOTSHA Water Quality Bank. They can give us credit if we treat more than required water quality volume. Not only the volume, if we are providing also more IR, so not only the, designing the practice to provide more volume doesn't mean that we are providing more treatment. So we need to show that more impervious area is going there also, not only the volume, not only the capacity of the practice is going to account for, providing treatment. We have to show that enough impervious area is going to that practice. That means sometimes it has to be more than the IARTs to get that credit. You want to say something, somebody, about this? Okay. All right. So there are two requirements that must be met for a project to satisfy ESDV. For the overall project requirement, which means water quality treatment, this can be provided anywhere within the project, assuming the project is located in a single 6-digit watershed. That means these are I found these online, these are the Maryland 6-digit watersheds. So let's say we have a project around here and we cannot provide water quality here. We can do it somewhere here, as long as the treatment is within this area. So for this watershed, if I have a project here, I can provide quality treatment here, because take in consideration that we can have also water quality bank for this watershed, because if I treat more from different project here, if I treat more, they're gonna deposit that overall, over treatment under this number. That means I can use it here, wherever I want, as long as I am in the same watershed. That is for the water quality. So if the project is here, I cannot treat, I don't have space to provide treatment here for water quality, then I can use it here, or I can provide it here, anywhere within these 6 digits. That's what it means here. But for POI requirements, that means for channel protection, that means for, PE more than 1 inch, if my project is here and POI is somewhere here, I have to provide it there, because channel protection means, protecting the channels. So I cannot do it here because the channel is here. If I have to provide it here, it has to be here, because I have to try to protect the channel here. So channel protection volume must be provided at each in the POI with a new development. A new development means we have a requirement of more than 1 inch. So we're gonna provide it at each POI. Is that clear? So this is the two requirements for the project. So when you design water quality anywhere within the 6-digit drainage area, but POI, channel protection, it has to be at the location of the POI, because we are trying to protect the channel. So let's say we have a project which is exceeding in, which is crossing into watersheds. So if I have a requirement here, I cannot provide it here. It has to be here, even though it is the same project, which is within which is located within two 6-digit area. So I cannot overtreat here to compensate for this area because they are in two different watersheds. So it has to be, if I cannot provide treatment here, then I have to find some area within this, not here, even though it is the same project with which crosses along the 2 or 3, 6-digit watershed.
So just to elaborate on this, what
Yes.
Solomon is saying is typically your water quality volume, it's the first 1 inch of rainfall on your impervious area. So that's considered as a water quality. So what we can do is we can choose to provide that water quality treatment within the site, but if there is no space available for that, then we can go outside, off-site area and within the same watershed, and we can choose to treat some of the existing or new impervious area and provide the compensation that way. But your channel protection volume, which is like above 1 inch up to the your PE, which could be depending on your soil type, could be like I think max in Maryland. Mostly we use 2.6 inches. So between 1 and 2.6 inches, that's your channel protection volume. That has to be provided within the same POI. You cannot say like, oh, no, I'm going to compensate it. So, for example, if you have that requirement in POI 1, you cannot say, no, I'm going to compensate that in POI 3, because that's not going to do any good for POI 1. So you are supposed to provide that treatment within that same POI.
Yeah. Any questions so far? Okay. So water quality management does not necessarily have to be provided in the POI for which the requirement must be provided in the same watershed. These allow existing impervious area outside the LOD to be treated in lieu of the project's impervious area, so long as the surface area is not already being treated for water quality. So we have to be careful also. If I cannot provide here, saying I will provide here doesn't mean that it's going to work, because we have to make sure that this impervious area is not already treated. Also, we have to prove that there is no treatment provided for this area in order to use it for this. That's what it means here. All right. When Chapter 3 structural practices have water quality features are used to provide some or all of the CPV requirements, the practice may be sized based on the ESDV. So I think we did one project where I think it's MD 736. We use the structural practice. That means structural practice means which is not ESD practice, which is not micro scale practice. So this is a bigger structure. If we use it, so that means we can design it as based on the ESDV. That's what it says, like as if we are designing the small practice, a small scale practice like microbioretention or other. So if a structural practice with no water quality feature, such as dry pond and underground storage, is used to provide CPV, then we're gonna have to follow Appendix D11 of the manual to calculate the volume. That's about the design. I don't think we did this so far. So, and here all stormwater BMP must be sized for the area draining to them. I already said that. So it's not only about the requirement, but we need to size the BMP for the drainage area to it. If more impervious area, more impervious area is coming to that practice, we have to design it for that, for the entire impervious area or the entire drainage area, unless we do this, unless we divert the excess away from it. That's what it means here. So the water quality volume is based on 1 inch. Arun already said that. So if we, if we additional quality credit will not be given for treating PE over 1 inch. So if we are treating 2 inch, it doesn't mean that we are gonna get more credit. It has to be the IART, which is gonna give us a water quality credit. That means, let's say we have requirement, IART, impervious area requirement, requiring treatment of, let's say, 1 acre. And if we are treating 2 acres, then we're going to get 1 acre of credit. But it has to be based on 1 inch. So instead of treating 1 acre in with 1 PE of 1 inch, if we are treating 2 acres with 1 inch, then the excess 1 acre will be credited to our water quality bank.
So I think just to put it into a little into perspective, like let's say you have to treat 1 acre, and let's say you're providing a PE treatment of 1.5 inch. That doesn't mean that you are providing treatment for more than 1 acre, because the water quality treatment is only based on 1 inch of PE, right? So
Yeah.
as long as you have 1 inch of PE, you can claim that you have treated 1 acre. But since you're providing a PE of 1.5 inch, you cannot say I'm treating 1.5 acre. It doesn't work that way. Um, so, and I think this paragraph clearly mentions, like, in order to get a credit for that impervious area that you are treating, you need to you need to provide 1 inch of treatment. If you're not providing 1 inch of treatment, then you can't claim you are treating the whole impervious area. Let's say you're draining a large impervious area to a small, tiny microbial retention facility. That microbial retention facility, if it's not able to provide at least 1 inch of treatment, then you can claim whatever impervious area draining to that microbial retention is treated. Your impervious area treated will depend on how much PE you are providing. And there are some other ways to compensate that. I think the slide mentioned it there. Like you can compensate by providing treating additional impervious area somewhere else within the same POI, or maybe within the same watershed. Yeah, but in order to claim that you have treated an impervious area, you have to provide at least 1 inch of treatment for the rainfall that's falling on that impervious area.
So, in addition, if the impervious area draining to the facility is only 0.35 acres, and we are designing the facility to treat 0.5 acre, that doesn't mean that we're gonna get credit for that, because it's not coming. That 0.5 acre is not coming. We are just making the practice larger just for nothing, because that 0.5, we need to show that 0.5 acre is coming to it. The drainage area to that facility, it should show that it has 0.5 acre of impervious area. So, oversizing the facility doesn't mean that we're gonna get credit for that because it is the impervious area which matters, which is coming to the practice, which matters, and of course that PE also. All right, so a debit from water quality bank satisfies both water quality and recharge requirement. And
Can we
yes,
talk a little about recharge volume? What is it?
okay. Recharge volume is part of the water quality volume, which goes which is can you say it in your language? Provide the recharge volume similar to CPV. Recharge is required for new impervious area. If we have new impervious area, that means if we are pure redevelopment, we don't need to provide a recharge volume. A recharge volume is the portion of the volume which is going to feed the underground water reservoir, or how do you
Yeah,
say
so
it?
just putting like just saying it in a very plain term, like before anything was developed, your site was we in water resources call it like woods in good condition. And there are different soil types based on that, like whatever falls on that soil, some of it infiltrates into the ground and recharge your groundwater table. But as soon as you start developing it, you start putting impervious area, that infiltration rate is affected. So it's not like same amount of water will reach the groundwater after you develop a parking lot. Obviously, the recharge factor will go down and there will be less infiltration. So in order to address that, this MDE or MDE, like I think they came up with this recharge volume terminology, which based on your soil type, you're supposed to infiltrate certain amount of volume in the ground. And how we do it, we do it by using the infiltrating practices, for example, bioretention, microbioretention, I
Bioswale.
mean, bioswale infiltration trench. There are various infiltration practices which provide recharge. So your recharge first depends on your soil type. But for different soil type, there are different recharge factor that you use to calculate how much volume you need to infiltrate. So that's basically it. And then you need to design, if you need to provide that recharge volume, you need to pick a facility and then make sure you have that volume, that amount of volume that will infiltrate into the ground.
Yeah.
And you can talk about like example, like how we provide that recharge. Uh,
Yeah, I have.
yeah, you have that slide. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So here, I chose this bioswale as an example because, as you see here, there is an under drain pipe. That means we cannot account for infiltration here. That means if we have under drain, that means the soil is not good in infiltrating. So if we have under drain, then we have to provide a reservoir here. How can I zoom? You see, and for this very example, for this bioswale, we provide a flat bottom. If too much zooming, a flat bottom area here. For example, in this case, it is 50 feet by 4 feet is the width of the bioswale, and we fill it with gravel and we define the depths of that flat bottom based on the volume we require to provide. So this
So
is how we
here, yeah,
yes.
so here in this example, you can tell that we are proposing a flat bottom that is 50 feet in length and 4 feet in wide. I'm
15
not sure
inch.
about the 18-inch in depth. So you're providing that volume, 50 by 4 by 1.5 feet. And then we consider that the void ratio for a gravel is 40%. So if you multiply that by 0.4, that's the recharge volume that we are saying it's going to infiltrate. We are going to infiltrate in the ground. So that volume has to be equal or more than the recharge volume required for, yeah.
Yeah. So we are doing this because we have under drain. Having under drain means we don't have good infiltrating soil here. So that's gonna help, this under drain will help to take away the water, but it's not gonna help for the recharge. That's why we are providing under the invert of that under drain more reservoir here for a recharge.
Right. So if it was a very good soil that had a very good infiltration rate, then we can get rid of the under drain.
Yeah.
And what we are doing in that case is we are infiltrating the whole volume, the
Yes.
volume of the media, and we don't need that flat bottom
Yeah.
recharge cell to recharge the volume. So all
Yeah.
the water that's infiltrating in the media is eventually going to go into the ground to the groundwater table. So we are effectively infiltrating the volume stored in the media in that case.
Good. I have another example. We have only 3 minutes. So here I mentioned, I try to mention about karst. How do we handle karst area? So I had one project at MD 736. What is karst? Karst describes terrain that is characterized by sinkholes, caves, underground streams, and other features that are formed by slow dissolution of calcium and magnesium oxide in limestone, dolomite, or marble bedrock. The most affected counties, as I found from the manual, are Washington County, Carroll County, Frederick, and Baltimore, with extensive areas in Allegheny County. So if we are in that case, we cannot account for infiltration in karst areas. That means we can have to put an impermeable liner around. If we have to design a stormwater management practice there, then we have to cover it with impermeable liner because we are not allowed to infiltrate in that area.
Yeah, so those karst area, those are very susceptible
To sinkholes.
to the sinkholes, and the reason that happens is your limestone, those are easily dissolved by the water infiltrating, and that creates a void in the ground, which eventually develops a sinkhole in long term. So using any infiltration practices in such area are discouraged, and if we have to use one, then we have to provide some impermeable liner as shown on that diagram, which prevents water from infiltrating into the ground. So the only outlet for water is through the under drain, or once it fills up, it goes through the outlet structure. And for the sites, those are in karst topography, there is usually your recharge volume required is 0. Like you don't provide any recharge volume.
Yeah. So I'm gonna share maybe this document, and if anybody has question, can reach us. And if there are any other questions, I think I will stop here.
Yeah, I was expecting more question from our staff, water resources. But yeah, that's fine. We can put this slide somewhere everybody can find, and if anybody has any questions, yeah, just feel free to reach out to me, Solomon, Jerry, or Ankur. Yeah, and
So
yeah,
for the
thank
next
you.
time, maybe we can prepare, you know, how to apply this in a project, you know, with using those spreadsheets, you know, how to calculate and how to delineate drainage areas. And I think David did this already, but
Yeah, I just this a moment I just wanted to reach out to like highway engineers, especially Jeremy, Kwaku, Jared, whoever is attending. Like, if you guys want us to present something that might be important to you from a highway design perspective, you can let us know, and we can put together a slide or a presentation on that. Otherwise, this is like more technical, so it might not have been very interesting for you guys. But this is something we do on a daily basis when we are working on any project. So yeah, from a highway perspective, if there's anything that you guys would like us to focus on, we can certainly accommodate that.
so
Yeah, I don't have anything at the moment, but I'll let you know.
Okay,
thanks.
thank you.
So that's it.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you, Solomon. Thank you very much, Solomon. Very good presentation. And thank you, Arun, for the inputs.
Thank you, everybody.
So,
And
Thank
yep.
you.
see
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.